Yo, good looks to dreadsock.com for sponsoring this episode of Real Notes. Anyone who has curly or locked hair like me knows how sacred a good hair wrap is. A do-rag, a wave cap, a scarf, a bandana, a bonnet, you name it. Dreadsock goes a step beyond the average with silk-based head wraps that offer full protection and frizz control for curls from 2A to 4C. They're made of a blend of breathable materials to help retain hair's moisture and preserve hairstyles enough to ensure a few less trips to the salon, all held down with an elastic band strong enough to withstand even the most aggressive head trips. Whether you wear one to bed or wear one on the go, Dreadsock will have you looking fresh and full. Socks come in all sizes, from shorties for short hair and beginner twists to extra large for the longer locked folks out there. Look, y'all, I've been growing my locks for nearly 2 decades and have been a loyal Dreadsock customer for 15 years. So when I tell you these shits work, I'm dead ass. Plus, they're an independent, black-owned business that's worth the time and energy. So go to dreadsock.com and use promo code CineMasai, that's CineMasai, for 10% off your first order. They won't fall off in your sleep, but they will keep you looking fresh. Thanks again to Dreadsock for sponsoring the episode. Now let's keep this shit moving. What's good, y'all? My name is Dylan Green, and this is Real Notes, a space dedicated to blurring the cultural and artistic lines between rap and film. I'm here to chop it up with everyone from rappers and producers to journalists and video directors about their relationship to movies and how, if at all, film inspires their craft. My guest this week is Massachusetts-based rapper, producer, streamer, and toymaker Pink Navel. We spoke about our favorite reality TV, the pros and cons of internet culture, their relationship to the Star Wars movies and the filmography of Kevin Smith, forging their own path as Pink Navel, connecting with rap Ferreira and Ruby Yacht, the creative process behind How to Capture Playful, their collaborative album with Kenny Segal, and of course, all things video games. Come fuck with us. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back to Real Notes. It's warm out. It's almost Halloween and it's like 70 degrees outside. It feels nice. I'm gonna stop saying that's scary because I guess it is kind of scary, but it feels nice to not be it's just weird. I was shivering yesterday and now I'm not. But we're here. It's sunny. My name's Dylan Green, CineMasai. Got a lot of names, do a lot of shit. Be outside, inside. Always listening to something, whether it's music or cat yowls. There's always something going on over here. And I'm with somebody today who's also got a lot going on and is just a really whimsical human being. We got a whimsical human being in the house today. They're a rapper and a producer and an occasional streamer and a toy maker and a bunch of other things that Super Mario beat maker, which is pretty crazy. We're gonna get into that a little later. But we got Pink Navel. Pink Navel's in the house. Dev is here.
What's up?
It's a real pleasure to have them in the house. They and Kenny Segal's project How to Capture Playful, is out, and it's wonderful. And it feels like ingesting a Mario Odyssey Moonstar. Are those Moonstars? I don't know what to call those. Like
In Odyssey, they're called moons. I think it's a very fascinating flip from moon to star. The symbolism is sort of lost on me why they changed it. I guess because you go to the moon at the end. Spoilers. But
yeah, right. Oh yeah, right. I still haven't beaten Mario Odyssey. Like I made it up to the point where you got to go beat Bowser again, and then I just kind of dropped it. I don't know why I dropped it.
Yeah, you got to get back in. The end of that game is the best part for sure. It's
man,
very mystifying the way it kind of wraps up.
That's so cool. Yeah, no, that was Mario Galaxy might be my favorite Mario game. At the very least, it's got my favorite Mario score ever. But like, I don't know.
Yeah. The music in Galaxy is amazing
and immaculate.
You know what? Why weren't they moons in Galaxy?
I don't know.
Wouldn't that have been more fitting for them to be moons there?
Yeah, nah, totally. It's a weird show. I mean, like, I guess you could like make the argument that like, you know, like it's like an Odyssey through space. I don't know. I'm not I'm not Miyamoto. What's the new boss's name? His last name's Bowser, but like
Oh my
what's his first
God.
what's his first name?
Yeah, Doug, the CEO of Nintendo of America. His name is Doug Bowser.
Doug Bowser. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, nah.
Um,
But yeah.
there's a word for that when like your name uh is like directly related to what you do. I don't remember the word, but yeah, that's probably the most interesting one ever. That this dude's last name is Bowser. He's destined to work for this company.
Yeah, honestly, I think the word is fuck shit, so I'm just gonna keep with that.
Yeah,
But
like there's
no,
no way. We gotta look up like where this dude's from and see if he ever changed his name or something.
yeah, no, we need receipts. But Dev, thank you so much for being here. Like I
Thank
was
you.
telling you off camera, like your music's been dope for forever, and I'm really happy to see you and Kenny like team up for something so special, and for the spotlight to really be on you
Oh, thank you so much.
in like a big way. So like yeah, I'm happy you're here. Thank you for being here, bro.
Oh yeah, well yeah. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, it's just been a whirlwind this past. I mean, it's only been out for like 5 or 6 days now, so it's just been even in that time been doing so much and like having so much going on. It's been very exciting. Trying to be very grateful and just be open to see how things continue. And yeah, it's been the best ever.
Hell yeah, yeah, nah. It's only gonna go up from here, Like it's like it's just like just like the stuff that like you and the rest of the Ruby Yacht and like of course like Rory and Share and everybody like y'all,
Mhm.
yeah, like and yeah. Before I forget, we met very briefly for the first time at y'all's tour, when y'all were in
Yes.
Jersey, when y'all were in Jersey last year.
Oh my
Um,
God, that night was awesome.
that night was insane. I need y'all to understand that's the first time I've been back to Asbury Park in like a decade. So it was really nice to have that be the night. But like what else happened for you that night that made it so crazy outside of just like the show and shit?
The show was awesome. We had a fun time there. Um, I don't know. It was just like the energy was very high, and I was just like chilling that night. Like I wasn't drinking, so I was like very like I was just chilling, like enjoying sort of like the hullabaloo from like a different perspective, and it was fun. It's just like seeing all my friends have so much fun, and like the vibe was crazy. That like little venue was like totally packed out. We sold some great merch. I don't know. It was just a very like fun show and one that I wasn't expecting. You know, I know that Asbury Park has like a huge history in indie rock and like in punk and like pop punk, but I didn't know there'd
Right.
be so much love for like like the indie rap. So that was like a pleasant surprise and yeah, it was just a fun night. I'd never been to Asbury Park. Oh, we went to this like pasta place where you could pick your pasta and there's all these like sauces and like things you could mix into the pasta. It was like
Oh, that's
Chipotle.
cool.
Yeah, it was like Chipotle, but for pasta. And I think about it all the time because I wish there were more places like that. Like pasta is such an easy food to make. Like, why is there not like fast food pasta places?
Yeah, good
You feel
question.
me?
And I know the place you're talking about too, because I think it's a chain. I've seen like two or three others like in the city and
Cool.
maybe even somewhere else in Jersey, because I live like way further up North Jersey. I think I'm like an hour out from Asbury Park, so I drove down for that. But like but
Shit.
I seen I yeah, no, I can't remember what the place is called, but I've seen a couple of them around. But yeah, like it's yeah, because everybody, well, I don't want to say everybody loves pasta, but once again, it's one of those easy things to make. It's just like
Yeah.
yeah, even if it's just like pasta and butter type shit, like that's you can't really go wrong if that's your thing.
Seriously. Yeah, that's just this shit I'd be thinking about. I don't know.
It's yeah. No, I get it. These are the things that keep me up at night too. That's why you're here.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Shit. So before I forget, let me ask you the first question I ask everybody who comes on here, which is
Let's go.
what was the last movie or TV show you watched that you had a strong opinion about?
Whoa. I'm gonna keep it real. I've been watching a lot of reality TV lately.
Let's go.
Lot of it. We're watching The Ultimatum Queer Love right now. Do you know this show?
I do. I think I've seen like an episode or
Oh
two,
my
but
god,
I definitely know the show.
this show is amazing. I love this show so much. Um, I think my strong opinion about it is that the structure kind of eludes me because every couple has one person that wants to get married and one person that doesn't, and they have to engage in this like dating experiment and then meet this ultimatum. But I think the foil is that what if just two people who want to get married link up?
Like,
Like, oh well, my partner doesn't want to get married. Oh, me too. Great, let's us just get married.
yeah,
And
quick math.
end of show, yeah. Credits. No, I love that show so much. It's been fun. It's something that we do after like a long day. Just watch some like crazy reality TV. It's the best.
Nah, that's fun as hell. So like I've only seen an episode, but my sister watches it religiously. So whenever I'm home, like every once in a while, I'll just like hear my sister like yelling at the TV about one of the couples, or like I don't remember anybody's name specifically, but I'll just hear like are you kidding me? Like what are you doing? Like
Yeah.
and I'll just go in and be like, the fuck are you watching? And it's just like I'm watching like the old, see it on the screen, and I'm just like, God damn it! Like
they'd be going crazy on there. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, like like stuff like that's like it could be kind of intense for me sometimes. There's some other Netflix like dating show. I can't remember what it's called, but I tried like 2 episodes of it because a friend had recommended it to me, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's a Spanish show about like these couples who it's kind of like a spin on Big Brother, where like all the couples they go on like there's a bunch of couples, and they all get like paired off with different people from the couples, and they go off to and they go off to houses, and they have to like not cheat on each other, but
is that Too Hot to Handle?
And I don't. It's Too Hot to Handle the one where they like futz around with the AI and like do deep fakes of people cheating on each other?
No, but I've seen that show. That show is crazy.
Yeah, I just can't remember what it's called. I'm so mad. I'm
insane. Too Hot to Handle is the show where it's like all these people in a house and they can't have sex, and if you do, you lose.
Right.
Which is hilarious. That's like the funniest shit ever.
Yeah, like to be honest, I'm surprised somebody didn't come up with that before. Just like, yeah, like put hot people in a house, no sex, or you lose. Like that's
or you lose. That's
like
so brutal.
like fucking horror movie rules, bro. Like it's like that seems like such like it seems like such a foregone conclusion. Like, oh yeah, of course somebody's done that, but no,
yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
Reality TV's fun that way. I don't like like every once in a while I pop in on the romantic and dating stuff. Like like every once in a while I'll tap in with some 90 Day Fiance or whatever that deep fake show is. I can't remember, but like for me, like my reality TV usually bends toward like I'm a big I mean, like I'm not a big baking reality person, but like I like baking shows a lot. I watch Nailed It whenever it comes out. I watch a lot of Binging with Babish on YouTube because I'm a nerd.
Yeah, that's what's up. I love the cooking YouTuber guys and all that shit. My favorite will always be Maddie Matheson. I take so much inspiration from him for my style. Like he's such a fashionable cat to me. I think he's so cool.
You see, no, sorry.
Go ahead. Right.
I was just gonna say that makes sense to me. Just like I was looking at a couple of pictures on your IG earlier, and like like that makes perfect sense to me. That Maddie Matheson's on your mood board. Like that's
huge inspiration.
Yeah, that's beautiful because he does have kind of like a really like comfy workman like style, and I think that's really cool. Like that's like not everybody can pull that type of thing off. but like
Hell yeah.
y'all can. So
Hell yeah, thanks. That's what's up.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Nah, there was a period of time where Desiree, my partner, was obsessed with Maddie Matheson. We would just like watch nothing but like his videos on YouTube for like 2 weeks straight. And
Yeah.
like that's just kind of how things move over here. Kind of move in like cycles where it's just like we'd be really obsessed with a thing for 2 weeks and then move on to the next thing. But like Maddie
Yeah.
Matheson's always kind of been like in the periphery in that way. And it's so crazy now because like have you seen that what was it, a DoorDash commercial with like him and Raekwon in it?
Yes, I did see this fucking commercial with him and Raekwon. I was like, is that for real? Like, they just be kicking it, you think? Like,
Considering the other people that Wu Tang's kicked it with in the past, like yeah, like they were rolling with Bill Murray at one point, so I
that's
guess that makes
true.
sense,
That's
you know.
true. They kind of get down like that. It's just fun.
Yeah, like it's like, and it's funny because like Raekwon is like, like Raekwon just be having friends that like nobody would expect. Like like I expect anybody to be Riz's friend at this point, but
Mm.
just like Raekwon and like Maddie Matheson and I'm forgetting the other person who's in it. I feel so terrible, but like just like the three of them in a DoorDash commercial, this is the future we live in, bro.
For real.
It's a strange time.
For real. Just the Mod Podge of cultures all sort of like coalescing into one big mono culture. Um, you know, yeah, like the cooking YouTubers and the legendary rappers and the like household name comedic actors are all just together now, you know.
Right. Like
That's like that's the effect of the internet, you know. Everyone knows everyone and all that.
right. Yeah, no, like what's it called? Digital life is real life. I don't think people want to admit this yet, but I kind of feel like I feel like the
Yeah.
internet's just changed the way that we interact. I mean, like obviously it's changed the way we interact, but I think it's just like changed the way we process information and just like stuff, like
Yeah.
stuff just like the internet leaks into real life all the time to the point where not to say I can't tell the difference between the two, but like they're like interconnected in ways that I don't think we'll ever be able to like pull away from, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I've always thought, it's two schools of thought. This is an idea that I'm sort of lifting from Zay Frank, but there's two schools of thought in how we as a society interact with the internet. It's one camp is in when I go on the internet, I'm entering or engaging with a world that is not real. And everything on here is not real. And like my Facebook page is a representation of me, albeit not always accurate, etc. And then the other camp is I am real and the world is real, and I'm utilizing this new tool to like further draw connections from myself to other people in the real world. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. And yeah, like I'm gonna say I definitely fall in that second camp.
Hmm.
I think, because like there's like there's too much like like in terms of relationships and in terms of just like connections and I don't know, just like even like my sense of humor has been like permanently warped by the internet. Like I take all of this stuff with me into real life, and like my
Yeah.
real life also kind of informs and inspires the way I am. Like it's like a what's the word? It's like a porous connection between those two
Yeah,
for me.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think as it progresses, there's been multiple generations now. I'm not sure how old you are, but I'm like I'm 27, so I'm on this like cusp of millennial and Gen Z.
Right.
I mean, on like the older cusp, but definitely, not full on. But I think folks my age are some of the first people to grow up with sort of the 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 budding plant of the modern internet. And now there's been multiple generations that are growing up and have grown up with Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and all of that stuff. And I think it's interesting to see not only the speed of culture, but sort of like the unification of culture um, in that way, where like when I was a teenager and I was a young, like tween, I would be referencing sort of esoteric Reddit and 4chan humor to my friends at school. Whereas now, I think, and this is also, I want to touch on like how much Black culture influences quote unquote internet culture,
Oh, that's real.
right? Where you see these people who are using words, using AAVE in ways that they would never use
Yeah,
had they not heard it on X, Y, or Z, social media app or
yeah.
just stuff like that. Like,
And then it becomes internet slang, and it becomes
right.
completely separate. And it's
You
like,
get me.
nah,
You get
nigga,
me.
like, come on, like, that's not
You
what that
get me.
is.
You get me. You
That's
get
not
me.
what that
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. Just yeah. I've always found that whole sort of like situation a little crazy, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, I agree. Like I'm 20. Or I almost just said I'm 27. I'm 31, so
But
I'm a little. I'm a couple years older than you. But yeah, no, like I had a similar experience. Like my experience with the internet was kind of like being there when YouTube first started, and really, like I think about this so much. The first YouTube video I ever saw was the Kennedy assassination.
whoa.
Like because we had just learned about it in school, and then
Whoa.
so like everybody wanted to see the footage, and like somebody went and found it on like in like the early days of YouTube. This must have been like oh man, must have been like 05, maybe 06, something like that.
It
So
was
like yeah. So like it's so like it would be just me finding like like my like a lot of my early internet experience was like Homestar Runner and like
yes.
Happy Tree Friends and like just fucking every single rap video I could mainline into my like like every single like rap and pop and every single rap pop and pop punk and punk song that I could like mainline into my face. And like obviously Adult Swim's coming around this time too, and
Yep.
like I think like Adult Swim played a huge role in like what we now kind of understand as internet culture. So like like
Absolutely.
like
Absolutely.
seeing all that shit manifest and just kind of being able to like like getting older is just getting better at pointing out references and pointing out like influences and just being like, oh, I
Yep.
see that like this is like I see like this is really just like these six things kind of brought together in a way that's not like derivative, but just like I can see that you were influenced. I can see you were influenced by like this video or like
Yeah.
this content creator or like this like obscure fucking like Reddit thing or like some like random comment on YouTube that went viral. I don't know. I feel like I'm babbling right now, but I feel you 100%.
No,
Like,
it's so real. And I mean, I think that's a great, segue to the record, because I feel like one of the things that I've sort of reached a logical conclusion on is this like referential sort of wealth of video game and internet culture that like is
right.
so prevalent in the record. I think something I've battled with my whole career is how do I honor and do this thing called nerdcore, quote unquote, that I love so much without becoming too hammy or gimmicky. Like,
Right.
I don't want to rap. I don't want to just say Mario in a rap. I want to rap about Mario and think about Mario, you
Yeah.
know, and like what he represents. And I think I've been able to like get there with this record in some way. I hope people hear that too, but I think I've been able to sort of like illustrate what I mean on the record.
I think so too. Cause like I just finished listening to it for I think the second or third time, maybe like 20 minutes before we hopped on. And like I feel, like I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like considering what you've done over the course of the last like 5-6 years, this really does feel like a culmination of like the Pink Navel project, like
Mm.
in that way that you just said. Cause like, like this is very, like this isn't just video game references. This is you contextual, like this is you placing your life in the context of a video game, like you like talking about like, you talking about like fucking overhead maps and like cartography and like even like a song like Character Select is just like, like like on the surface, it literally is just you naming characters, but it's you like contextualizing it. Like these are some of my favorites. These are some people I think are weird. And like for me as a listener and as someone kind of like in that same headspace, like I'm hearing these names, and I'm hearing names like like the one that always sticks out to me is when you say Mr. Proud, because like nobody
Yeah,
ever talks about Oscar Proud from the Proud family.
nah, for real.
His dorky ass. Like it was because like I would, and like that reminded me like back in like the Disney.go.com days, like when the Proud family first aired, like I used to be on like I used to be on the Flash games all the time, and I would be on the
Yeah.
sites and like and like chilling on the Proud family site. Like I was obsessed with that shit.
Mm.
So like you kind of unearthing that in that way, because like once again it goes beyond just you being like you just like listing names just to it's almost like a fun play on like, oh, you think I'm just listing names, and you just go on and like I don't know, like that song
Yeah,
is
for
really
sure.
that song's really dope to me because of
Thank
that.
you. Well, yeah, it was. So I think this would be interesting to share. It started as an exercise just to see how far I could go.
Makes sense.
If you scroll down on my TikTok, I posted the first quarter of that song back in 2021,
Mm,
on a different beat. So, 2 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago. It could have been in 2020. Um, but yeah, so it's kind of been in the works for a long time. I wasn't even gonna put it on the record, but shout out Vast Ness, who was insisted. He was like, "You gotta put this character song," because I used to do it on the road. I would just do it for fun on the road, but
mhm.
and whatever. But really, to be honest, it started and is directly inspired by this song off of Things That Happen at Day and Night by Milo. Things That
Mm,
Happen at Night. Um,
right.
there's like a secret track called The Other Ground Pizza Party, and um, Open Mike Eagle's verse on that song is he's listing like indie rappers that are like in the game, but then he's throwing in like famous, legendary auteurs. Like it's like um uh he's like talking about Kurt Vonnegut, and then he'll reference Samus and Megaran and the same, and like he's like listing all these people. And
Right.
when I was in high school, I used that as like a compass. I would just listen to it and Google every name. I'd be like, cool, okay, this might be a rapper I like. Megaran, Google Megaran. Now I'm discovering his music. Or like,
Right.
that's how I figured. That's how I discovered who Mark Maron was.
Mm,
You know, No Can, Haslo,
yeah.
Premrock, all these people I discovered from this verse. And that was just crazy to me. And I've just always had a soft spot for that song. So in some way, Character Select is sort of like a sort of subversion of that idea, where like all these people are at a party, and it's just like a very eclectic group, I guess. But yeah, so shout out to Mike for that, because that was really instrumental in in my in my navigation through this world. of music.
Damn, that's so tough. Like, and like you just saying that, you just saying that, of course, reminded me of the song from his new project, where he does more or less the same
Right.
thing, but just kind
And
of shouts out like he just shouts out like every fucking indie rapper on planet Earth, which is super dope to me, you know.
yeah, that's so true.
Like,
It's pretty much, yeah, it's very, very similar to that. So yeah, that was always just so cool. And yeah, the new record that he just put out, and that song was fantastic too.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
super good.
And like, before I even forget, just like, yeah, just like shout out, like shout out to Open Mike Eagle. He hasn't been on here yet, but I interviewed him a while ago, like way back when I first started writing, and
Hell yeah.
yeah, that's the guy. Like everything that they do over at Stony Island is super inspiring to me. That's part of the reason why this exists. So, like
Hell
shout out
yeah.
to shout out to Mike and all of them.
We love
They're all,
you.
yeah, no, they're
Yes,
all tight. We
yes,
love you big time.
for real.
But you're like, now that we're talking about this, I just realized I don't I don't usually talk about the records this early, but I'm actually happy we're doing this way, because it felt supernatural. So, just like the whole idea of how to capture playful. From what I understand, you and you and Kenny, I mean, like, you and Kenny have known each other for a while naturally, since you're both Ruby Yacht. But
Yeah.
like, I was reading, I think I was reading I was reading a caption on your IG where you mentioned that, like, the idea for this initially came when y'all were like playing Enter the Gungeon together on Switch in a tour van.
Yep. Yeah.
Like,
I was
which is cool as hell to me, because I played the shit out of Gungeon when it came out, so I saw that and was like,
yeah, dog. I have like 2,000 hours in that game. Shout out to Dose One, first of all, the fucking epic soundtrack for that game. But also, yeah, so um I was in the Ruby Yacht house band for a Milo tour in 2018. It was my first like big tour. It was the first time I was really going out for a long time. And we had like five, including Ro, five people for the Ruby Yacht house band, and then Kenny was doing an opening set at each show and would also come and like jam with us. And like that was the tour, and we all kind of ended up having like a spot in the car. We never like changed seats in the van. So I was always sitting next to Kenny in like the middle row, and we just both had Switches. The Switch was hot. It was 2018. Everybody was playing this dang thing. And we were both playing Gungeon, and I was already like a Gungeon super fan, and literally apropos of nothing, Kenny just also was playing it, and I was like, no fucking way. And that was like the first thing that like got us sort of like bonding, was this game. And we would talk about, oh, like, you got this item, oh, that's sick, and oh, no way, like, have you ever seen this happen, like, this is super rare. Like, we'd show each other stuff on our games. And
oh,
I mean, we were on tour for like 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks off, and then 2 weeks back on. So it was like a whole month of this, and it was cool. And then every time we'd meet up again, it would always be like, oh, like, what are you playing now? Like, what are you playing next? And like, what do you got going on? And so I knew, obviously, I think a lot of people can share this sentiment that they would love to get to, or, be in a position to collab with Kenny and work with him. And I have always felt that way. And I feel like, when I would think about it, I think, okay, if I ever get to do a record with Kenny, I know what it's going to be about, because we share this sort of like appreciation for indie games and games in general. And so I just always kind of kept that in the back of my head. And then I don't really remember how it came to be. I think I just sort of asked him one day if he'd be interested, in like in 2021 maybe, and then sort of like we just started working very slowly, but in a way that was very organic. So and it was just like, yeah, surreal, but also exciting. And yeah, I don't know, it was just, yeah, it was awesome, and it's continued to be awesome. And I love I love the product of our work, and um I just think it was so interesting and new for me to work with somebody and bounce ideas back and forth. I've spent the last 6 or 7 years doing records completely solo,
Right.
producing and like executive producing and mixing and mastering and recording all alone. So it was great to have somebody else in the room to be like, oh, like try this, or we should do something a little different here. Just stuff like that. I think that was so instrumental in the level up from even like Giraffe Track and Epic to now. Uh, so yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah, nah, and before we really like get super granular about not just like your career in music, but just like your relationship with like movies and games, because we're like at the record already. So like so you had kind of mentioned earlier that like you so like had you already come to the collab with the idea of like I want this to be about not just video games but like how they color my world, because like to me that's what like like what I love about this album so much is that it's escapist in the purest sense, just like in the sense of like there's pangs of isolation and dread in your writing just based off of like the world we live in, but
Mm,
like you really do see life through the lens of video games, like you really just like relate it to so many different, just like all these like icons of gaming, like a character select screen, for example, and just like mini maps and memory cards and, just like it's like I don't, like as somebody who's kind of been like hovering on the periphery of like the nerdcore movement or whatever you want to call it forever, and like seeing people do this, like I've never seen somebody take I've never seen somebody do this concept this way before.
mm,
And it was like to the point where like this is the type of album that somebody who doesn't play games could listen to and walk away with an appreciation for it. I think it's like both very in baseball but super accessible at the same time. It's a
yeah.
weird it's like at this weird nexus that's like really appealing to me as someone who like gets everything you're talking about but can see like, oh, like this would really pull somebody in like who doesn't know, like somebody who's never spent 200 hours playing Binding of Isaac like I have,
Mm,
like that's my 200 plus hour game.
yeah.
Back when I was running it up on Steam like crazy. But
Yeah.
you kind of said that you had initially come with like that concept already. So like how did that really start to develop as you started making this project?
Yeah, that was always the goal, to do a record about video games that didn't sound like it was about video games, or didn't sort of like go just surface level, if you will. That was always the
Yeah.
goal. But I think in practice, it took a little bit to get there. Um, there was sort of two big sessions that we did. One where I flew out to LA and I was there for about 5 days, and we did like a big chunk of the record. We did like 10 or 11 songs in that time, and showed that, to our group insularly, and with feedback we sort of agreed that we wanted to go 1 degree deeper into the okay, this record is about escapism, but what are we escaping from, you know and
Yeah.
in that decision to go back and do more is where you get Memory Card and Cracked and Maps and Navigation, and those songs, all those more somber joints, and which I think is probably my favorite song, Synergy. That's where you get Synergy, um
That's a good ass song. It's one of my favorites too.
for real. And so, uh, with those in there, like, I think it really rounded out this idea that, oh, we're having so much fun playing video games, but how do you feel in that moment where the game turns off and it's quiet and you're like, oh fuck, I'm back in Boston, Massachusetts, and I have to go to work and I have to do this, and you know um so yeah, I think as we were making it, that became more clear that we were telling this story of work versus play and how they intersect, and how, I've spent my career. Sometimes I would make this joke all the time. I'd spend $60 to buy a video game when I was broke. And then I'd say, oh, well, it's okay because I'm going to play this game and then I'm going to have new material to rap about. And it's like, that's loaded. To me, that's loaded, because when does that become fun? Or when does it stop being fun? Like, do I feel like I have to play Death Stranding so that I can make a obscure reference to Heartman in a bar 2 years later? Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
I do. I really do.
or am I just playing Death Stranding because I like Hideo Kojima? And so I think like that was a big like, like light bulb above the head moment of like, this is how we add dimension to this idea. And I think that's what really strengthened the record after the initial session. And yeah, I'm so grateful we did it, because I think it really came out very clear.
I think so too. And just as like someone who like I tend to have a similar relationship with film sometimes, because like especially since I have one of those like membership thingies now where I can just like go see whatever the fuck I want month to month, and I'll go see anything if it's like it's all free at this point. So I'm like, I mean, like even like stuff that I wouldn't even think twice about, I'm like, like it's not gonna cost me nothing. I'll go see it, and then like I'll just like see myself. Like I'll be sitting in a movie. Like I kind of had that feeling about the last Fast and the Furious movie, where I'm like, am I here because I really want to see this, or am I here just because it's free? And like, like, because like I do like I'll like review stuff on Instagram and like just like go and do a letterbox thing, and like letterbox reviews are how I just blow off steam. I don't take them shit serious. I mean, I don't take them super seriously, but like just like every once in a while, it's just like, why the fuck are you watching this, son? Like, do you really care about this? Like and like every once in a while, it's just nice to give yourself that gut check, because like especially as a creative, it is like it is a reminder of like, yo, like this is like like I love this thing that also just so happens to be work, and
Right.
just kind of like, and like that's like that's what I think is at like the core of this record. Like this album is like, like you coming to grips with loving something that's ultimately work and inspiration for work,
Yeah.
and like that's like I think that's the thing that really helps this
Yeah.
transcend just like being like a record about games. Like it's very much like about like your relationship to not just games, but like media and music, and how just like just kind of like just kind of splitting the difference between work and play,
Yeah.
and figuring out what the difference between work and play is, and then splitting that difference. And
Right.
I feel like that's like that's once again, like I said before, that's been at the core of all of your work, like stretching all the way back to the beginning. And I really do feel like this is like a culmination of the Pink Navel project in that way, like kind of like like stepping back since it's been about 4 or 5 days, and you're at the point where y'all are just like waiting for the 24 karat gold cassettes to sell out. Like, are you
Right.
are you like, how do you feel about, because I mean like it seems to me like you also feel like this is a culmination of everything you've been working towards. So like walk me, or it's like how do you feel about it in that respect, being able to just kind of stand back and look at it now?
Yeah. Well, before I get into that, I do just want to say that's where the name of the record kind of comes into play. This capturing playful, this like reclamation of the joy that I get from this activity, and sort of shooing away this like looming darkness of and like returning to the original intent, which is to have fun, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, 5-6 days in, I feel amazing. I I know this is a big deal, and I've been trying really hard to not like overblow my expectations. So I spend a lot of time like not thinking about it and not looking at my phone and not like refreshing all of the pages. But every time I do check, it's like a huge surprise because every time I go in and check, it's crazy. All like the love and the press. Just before I got on this call with you, we got totally pitchforked.
Mm-hmm.
so so it's cool. I feel a little crazy about it. I think I have this habit of assuming I'm like the little homie still. I spent a
Mm.
lot of time being a little homie, but I'm in my late 20s, and I do from time to time still battle with this imposter syndrome type stuff. But I try really hard to remind myself that I'm not here um due to any fluke. No, like there is no like favor being given to me.
Right.
Um I'm just really talented, and that's why I get to do this. And I know that sounds crazy to say, but um the inverse is that anxiety that like everyone is just sort of like pretending I'm awesome
Yeah.
because they feel bad for me, you know?
Oh man. Oh, I feel that.
Um and that's not true, you know? And
Right.
so um that's been something I like just trying to like remind myself of each day and be like, this is all, due to persistence and just like continuation in the game, and it's just been all gratefulness and all love, all around, and I just really can't believe that it's been received so well. It's been so cool.
Yeah, man. It's really been dope to see like all corners of this community that we're in, and people, even people out of it. Like like just as like just because like I work at Pitchfork, like I saw like in like their little schedule Trello, like I saw y'all's project in there, and I was like, yes, somebody did it. Like I was like super hyped to see that somebody was gonna write it up, and of course, like shout out to
Oh,
Dash because Dash did great. That's my
Dash
that's my,
crushed it. Shout out
yeah,
to Dash.
that's my guy.
Complete understanding of everything, and that was just so. What a blessing to just have someone that really got it.
Yeah, man, and yeah, like that's like like speaking as not just a writer, but like as a writer at Pitchfork, like that's my like that's always my goal when it comes to writing about anything, is that like whether I like it or not, I want to at least know that I understood it. Like
Yeah,
that's like super important to me, and like it's always really dope to see other writers who just like get it. Like
yeah,
whether or not they liked it, like they get it, and their
yeah.
opinion is formed from that, like from that understanding. It's like it just did my heart good to wake up, like like before I went to sleep, I saw it go out, and I was like, crazy. So
Mm,
yeah, congrats on that.
mm. Hell yeah,
And
hell yeah.
I feel like man, I feel like there was one other thing I wanted to say, and my brain just died on me. Fucking yeah, nah, like like just like the whole imposter syndrome thing. Like I get it, but like you built something and you built it well, and people came to you for it, and
Mm,
like that's something that, or like I assume Ruby Yacht came to you. Like we'll get to that in a little bit, but like it's always really bizarre when you work so hard and you constantly beat yourself up over it, but then other people, like these like institutions and people that you love and appreciate,
Yeah.
like reach out to you, and you think like, do I deserve this? And it's just like, you just got to remind yourself, like, they wouldn't be reaching out to you if you weren't putting your ankle in this shit. You know, like there's a
Absolutely.
reason, there's a reason people are reaching out to you. There's a reason people are buying your record. There's a reason people are coming to watch you make records on Twitch. You know, like you made a whole
Mhm.
album on Twitch, and
I
like
did do that.
people care. You know, like, and
Yeah,
you know,
for
like,
sure.
you know, like that album is great. Like I was listening to Epic last night. It's super tight.
Oh, thank
Um
you.
yeah, of course. But before we get back into, yeah, like I kind of want to backtrack a bit,
Cool.
and like get into your, and just like get into your relationship with, oh, that was the other thing I wanted to say. So, you know, like you, like it's interesting because you do exist at, I mean, like you as an artist and an individual exist at this, at like the intersection of so many different kinds of media. Like, you know, like
Mhm.
you rap, you make beats, you make toys, you're you know, like you're a connoisseur of games and old obscure cartoons, you know, like, and I think that's one of the reasons why you were a perfect guest to have on here, because this whole show is all about the intersection of, I mean, like particularly rap and movies, but like really all of those things, because all of these things inform each other, you know? So like,
Absolutely.
so you know, like for you, Dev, what's the first movie experience you can remember having? It could be at the theater, it could be at your cousin's
Oh,
house. The
easy.
first, yeah. Tell me.
That's such an easy answer. My dad is really I get this like love and appreciation for not only music but for all media and pop culture. He was so plugged in even when he was older. Um, I must have been, I don't really know how old I was. Maybe I was 8. He brought me to the midnight release of Star Wars Episode 3,
Ooh,
Revenge of the
the good one out of that trilogy. That's
Sith.
it. That's
Hey,
cool.
they've all got their fun
Nah,
bits.
totally,
Come
totally.
on.
I'm
No.
playing around.
But yeah. I was there as a child. It was midnight, packed out theater, rowdy crowd, everyone losing their mind. I was I was so young, but I do remember, you know, these big moments, like that final fight, that it, um just how gruesome Star Wars got. It never got that gruesome again.
Yeah, no.
And on all of that, like the energy in the room, and Star Wars was such a big thing for me and my dad, and I definitely carry his like love for like just the story and the series. I mean, even on memory card, I rap about George Lucas, and
Hmm.
um, so yeah, that was such a big moment. And even now, as I've gotten older, I love going to midnight releases. I love that rowdy crowd. I love that
Yeah.
excited. Yeah, I went to Spider-Man 3 at the midnight release. That was maybe my favorite movie experience of all time. People just absolutely fucking losing their minds when X, Y, or Z Spider-Man is on screen. Um,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, nah, yeah, nah, that definitely made the movie in a lot of ways. I've been meaning to rewatch it because I haven't seen it since then. But yeah, like just like being, yeah, no, because like I had a yeah, like one of my best friends who moved away to North Carolina, he came back up to Jersey for that. And like me and him and our mutual, one of our other mutual best friends, we all went to the screening together, and that was a moment for sure. So
yeah,
I feel you.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was my first like really memorable movie going experience, was seeing Revenge of the Sith with my dad at midnight when I was 8 when it came
Oh
out.
man, that's so crazy. And like, and yeah, no, you mentioned how Revenge of the Sith is a really gruesome movie, especially by Star Wars standards. And you're right, because like the one scene, I mean, like there's so many scenes to recall from it, but like the one that always sticks out to me is the final battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan. You know, like when like when Anakin just like won't stop doing his thing, and Obi-Wan slices his legs off and his arm, and it's just like his,
Brutal, brutal.
like, yeah, like just like his stump, just like
Mm-hmm.
just like posted by the lava. and of course like the "You were the chosen one" speech and all that. But like,
Yeah.
like there's really, like there was really no, like I think like the most brutal that Star Wars had been at that point was maybe Jango Fett getting his head chopped off at the end of Attack of the Clones, and like that wasn't even all
And
that brutal because
yeah,
there was
and
like
like
no
even
gore or shit.
right, yeah, even that it's really just the helmet that you see. You don't see his head. You
Right.
know what I mean? And yeah, dude, like it was just a lot. But it was also, I think, I mean, I'm not sure how familiar you are with like the Star Wars traditions or whatever, but everybody always says, I have a bad feeling about this.
Yep.
Someone says that someone has to lose a limb
Yep.
in every flick, which is crazy because they just let this guy lose 3. He lost them all. I was like, damn, that's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
but they just like subvert that tradition by like putting it to the extreme. Like, let's just cut all of his limbs off. Yeah. Such a crazy, crazy movie.
Yeah. General Grievous came in the third one, right? Or did he pop up in Attack of the Clones first?
No, that's in 2, I think, is when
Okay.
he fights Obi-Wan and Obi-Wan rips his heart out and shit.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not because
Pretty gruesome too, I guess. Yeah. But he's a robot.
yeah. Yeah, you're right. He's a robot, so it's a tiny bit different, and it's funny because like I like Attack of the Clones is a movie that I can admit is very, very bad, but I really enjoy watching it. And one of the reasons is because it's got one of my favorite moments in any Star Wars movie ever, which is like the fight between Yoda and Dooku. Like the fight between Yoda and Dooku and the
Goated.
and
Goated.
and
It's so sick.
yeah, like that, and the clone battle at the very end, like that makes the whole movie worth it to
Yeah.
me. Like
Yeah.
like when I was little, when I was younger, and we had the movie on DVD. I think the first day I got the DVD, I must have watched the Yoda and Dooku fight like 8 times, like back to back to back. Like I would watch the 2-minute fight, run it back, watch it, run it back. It was just like it was the illest shit in the world to me.
It's the same like Master Splinter effect where you never see this dude fight. Everybody respects him. He's sick, and then finally, like after years, it's like, all right, you want to see him snap? Let's go. And they nailed that moment. They nailed that moment so perfectly. So that was just, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was really everything. And now that I'm thinking about it, and since we're on the topic of like games and shit, the Revenge of the Sith game for the PS2 is one of my favorite fighting games ever. That game was my whole shit. I never owned it.
I gotta do the research. I don't know if I know that one.
Oh, it's such a gorgeous game. Like it's like a lightsaber duel game where like you could play as Anakin, Obi-Wan, Grievous, a bunch of people, Dooku. I think Darth Maul. It's the official Star Wars 3 Revenge of the Sith game, but I think you can play as characters from like across the original trilogy.
Oh, so
like
hell yeah.
I'm pretty sure, right? I can't remember exactly. All I remember is that I spent bare time playing that game when it came out. Because like I think a friend had rented it and they had it at school. Like we would like play it in gym class. So like on like Fridays in gym, if we were good, they'd like bust out a PS2 and we just play games, and that was one of them. So like
that is so cool.
That's
pretty cool.
That game was a lot of fun. If you can find it and you have a PS2, which I'm sure you probably do, it's definitely worth it to run it.
Oh, for sure. That would be sick.
And now, like I think I might have only asked this question to 1 or 2 other guests on the show, but like since this is all games all the time, I have to ask, like, like what's your first game experience you can remember? It could be at the arcade, it could be at your friend's house. Like,
yeah, that's really easy for me too. So I have an aunt that has 2 sons, my cousins Cole and Ethan, and they were always sort of, when I was really young, they were my gateway to video games. So you spend a lot of time together, a lot of sleepovers and just like stuff like that. And I never really had any consoles until I was a bit older, but they always had consoles. And the memory that is like the fondest to me is that it would be like the dead of night and we'd be playing Smash Bros on the 64 with no sound because it was like 2 a.m. and I was like 10. So you can't be up at 2 a.m. when you're 10 years old. Yeah, obviously. and just like watching and seeing this game be played, and my cousin Cole was really good at it, so it was like watching someone really good at this game play it, and just being in that room and doing that. And then also their older sister, my cousin Paige, I also have this very fond memory of. She was a bit older than us, and she was really into Kingdom Hearts, and I remember watching her play Kingdom Hearts down in their basement and just being like, this game is like this marvel of a game, like just so interested in the world. And then a few years later I got it down in 64, and that was when I really like started playing. But yeah, the first memories are silent Smash Bros in the bunk bed. Chilling. Yeah.
Yeah, nah, classic nerd kid shit. Like that's like I feel like everyone who grew up around that time probably has that same specific memory with Smash Bros. Like it's like I talk about this all the time, and I've been thinking about it more recently because I was just at a the guy Dirty Bird out of Virginia. He threw a LAN party in Brooklyn and had like
no way he threw a LAN party.
Yeah, like that shit was hard. It was at Misa Board Cafe on Broadway in Brooklyn. It was so tight. So like they had a bunch of other shit set up. It was I think Street Fighter 6, Modern Warfare 2. They had a PS2 with Def Jam on it. And
that's crazy.
And but like of course the biggest most popular shit was they had Smash Ultimate set up. And like everyone there was trying to play Smash Bros. And I just see like all these I see these kids in like their early to mid 20s just like arguing about Smash Bros and characters and like tiers, like the way like me and the homies used to do it back when we played, and we all still play, so like it's just, I feel like Smash Bros is one of those like generation crossing games that like everyone of every generation has, like if you've played games in the last 25 years, you have a Smash Bros memory of some sort. Like for me, mine is always leaving my GameCube on for 20 hours to unlock Mewtwo in Melee. Like that's the like having to like hide the cost. I'm having to hide the console from my mom so that like I wasn't running up the power bill, and like it's that type of shit. Like it's that game is such an equalizer for everybody. It's like I've seen it bring all sorts of different people together, and that's just I get it. I get it.
Nah, yeah, that's what it's all about. That like whole era of gaming pre-internet was just so crazy and so mystical. I mean, games are mystical now, but for a different reason, I think.
Yeah.
Because now you just can look up anything you want, so there's no like secrets really anymore.
Yeah, and you don't gotta spend you don't gotta spend $25 on a strategy guide. People
what's crazy?
Niggas don't know about strategy guides.
No, they fucking don't. They just got Google.com. But do you know what's crazy? I was thinking about this. The only people that get to enjoy these games in that old way are games journalists. Because when you get a game early, there's no fucking, you can't Google what to do in fucking level 20 because no one has the game. So they get to play it for real. That's like probably the best thing about being a games journalist.
Yeah, I would I mean, like, I'm not a games journalist, but I would have to say that's I relate that to movies a lot because I love being surprised. Ultimately I'm a like, it's more about the journey than it is the destination most of the time. Like, I'm not gonna like not watch a movie if it gets spoiled for me, but I do prefer it if I can just like experience a movie or play a game and not know everything that's going to happen. You know, like it's you know, like it's one thing it's one thing if you get stuck somewhere and you got to look it up. I do that a lot. I'm not ashamed to admit it, especially when it comes to like notoriously difficult games and shit. But like, you know, it is nice to just kind of, you know, like that takes me back to like, you know, I mean, like you, I didn't really get a console until I was, I think I got my first, I think my first console was a PS1. I got it when I was like 6 or 7.
Hell yeah.
Because like up until then, I would play like Super Nintendo at my cousin's crib. I would play like Genesis at my friend Rachel's crib at the time. Shout out to Rachel and the Williams. And like, you know, like I would play like PlayStation at my cousin Jarrell's and like Nintendo 64, my cousin Malik, you know, like that type of shit.
Yep,
So,
sure.
and then eventually my parents realized how much I love games and they got me a PS1, and that was where that's where it all the first, I don't know if I ever told this story on the podcast, but the first video game I ever owned was Animaniacs 10-Pin Alley. It was an Animaniacs bowling sim.
Whoa, that's sick.
it was loose because like my favorite character to because it was, they had Yakko, Wacko, and Dot, the professor, and Pinky and the Brain were characters. But to play as Brain made himself like this brawny muscular man suit, and like the man's in like a bowling shirt and like slacks and bowling shoes, and like Brain's head's just like sticking out the top. So like I would always either play as Yakko or Brain. And like that was the first game I owned and I loved and experienced, and like that was magical, you know, like that was like really where that was like really where my love for games started, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, I think for me it was the Pokemon Tetris clone.
Ooh, what was that called again?
I don't remember what it was called, but yeah, it was just like, it was basically just Tetris, but Pikachu was on the screen too. Just like in the corner.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember exactly the game you're talking about, but I don't remember what it's called because I was thinking about you ever played Dr. Robotnik's Mean Beam Machine before?
Oh yeah.
Like, cause like because like Tetris clones, and like that was like a clone of not Tetris specifically, but what was the other game?
I think it was Puyo Puyo.
Puyo Puyo, right? And what's the other one? Bust a Move with the dinosaurs. Yeah. But either way, like both. Yeah, no, because I think Mean Beam Machine was literally a port of Puyo Puyo, wasn't it? Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Huh.
I don't know why. I don't know why I knew that off the top. Or that might not even be true. But I heard something to that effect at some point in my life. But yeah, nah. So yeah. So like as you started growing older and having your own, you know, like just like building up more life experiences and just like spending more time with movies and games. You know, like once again, this is for both movies and games. Was there a specific movie and game that you played and or watched that just kind of connected with you in a deeper, like, emotional or spiritual or artistic way that went beyond like, hey, this is a fun thing that I could use to distract myself for 90 minutes? Like, like a capital M movie and a capital M game, or a capital G game for you.
Okay. I think the first movie for that for me will always be Clerks. I'm sure that's a big thing for you as a New Jerseyan.
Yeah, definitely.
I think seeing a movie that was truly DIY and about nothing and about everything and about just like everyday life was so unique to me at the time. And again, I will say I did see it when I was 12. So I was very young. The humor was very funny to me as a 12-year-old. And you know, I will always have a soft spot for that flick. And actually, for my birthday this year, my partner planned a private screening of Clerks at a micro cinema with all of our friends.
Oh man.
And I just like walked in and everyone was in there and they're like, woohoo, Dad, hey Dev. And then we watched Clerks and it was so great because I just like love that movie so much. And I love the idea of just like the ethos of like you could do this too. I think so many people see a movie like that and they're like, I could make a movie better than that, you know? And it like inspires folks to kind of get out there.
Right.
Yeah. So definitely Clerks would be my answer for the film. I have a tattoo that says I'm not even supposed to be here today. Like that's how much I love this movie.
Wow. Yeah, nah. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's
Yeah.
love too, man. Like that's really love.
Yeah.
Like
Well, I mean, it was just it was a very magical moment. My dad being like, "You can never tell your mother I'm showing you this film. This like you will die with this secret." It's like, okay,
right.
cool. And like it's just we watched this crude flick, and he loved it, and I love it so much, and that was just like, yeah. So
Man.
it's very, 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 very soft spot.
That yeah, nah, it's a yeah, like it's a like A, it's a great movie. B, I I didn't see it until I got to college, which is funny. Which is like I didn't even watch the movie in Jersey. I watched it in New York. But like yeah, like he's from like Kevin Smith's from Red Bank, and they got the shop down there. I've never been to the shop, but I've heard cool things about it. But yeah, like
so I have been to the shop.
how is it?
So he keeps it the same. So when you go in, it just looks the same as it did in the movie. It's that was that was the coolest part to me, was that it was like a 1-to-1 just recreation of the store. That was very cool. And
cool.
Yeah. And where the video store used to be is a podcast studio. So that's like right next door, which is funny.
That's not surprising at all.
No,
like he was kind of like one of the first like celebrity podcasters in the way that we kind of understand that that trope to be now. Like he really was one of the first to do that. It's really crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's like him and Mark Maron, and I guess you could say Scott Aukerman too is like one, but
yeah.
And
like Combat Jack, like they're
absolutely
kind of like Reggie Ossie is like he's like Reggie Ossie is like the Kevin Smith of hip hop podcasting to me. Like he was kind of like he was a progenitor, and then obviously like rest in peace to fucking Combat Jack. But yeah, like it's like thank you, by the way. It's super duper interesting to see like Kevin Smith is somebody I have a lot of feelings about his filmography. It's a big ass roller coaster that goes ups and downs, peaks and valleys, and he's been through a lot. And
yes, he has.
He's made some trash, but I'm happy he's still here with us. We almost lost him a couple years ago, and that's an important man. That's an important man.
I totally agree. He's made a lot of very special flicks.
Definitely. Have you seen I haven't seen it yet, but you seen Clerks 3 yet or not?
I have seen Clerks 3. It is all right. The movie is all right.
That's what I've heard.
If I was Kevin Smith, I maybe would have made something different, but that's okay.
Yeah,
But it was very awesome to see, like folks that like didn't get into acting that were in the movie come back. Like the woman who plays Veronica is in the movie, and that was so cool to see her again and be like, oh, that's so crazy. Like, yeah, because the movie really was made with just him and his friends. So like these people aren't actors,
Right.
I mean, some of them are, but yeah. So anyway, I think for games, that's a little bit more difficult for me, because the game that I ascribe as my favorite game I played in 2018. So it's like way later on. I'm like a young adult. And I'm like sort of like reanalyzing, like, because there's certain games I would never have played when I was younger. I was more into like games from properties. I was more into adventure games and platformers.
Yeah.
And later on, I was like, I want to play something that has some more meat to it. So I was getting into, JRPGs, action RPGs, and my favorite game of all time, and I will always stick with this, is Nier Automata.
Ooh, really? That's a
This
good choice.
this is an amazing game. It is a fantastic game. Yoko Taro is an insane creative individual. I love everything he touches, and the game is just such a marvel of humor, of story, of meta commentary on sort of like how games are perceived and played in the modern era. Um, ownership over your own path and your story, and how it comments on that, and just a really great character lineup and a great story. And yeah, if you haven't played it, please play this game. It's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my answer.
So I've never played Near Automata, but I know a lot of people who have. I know quite a bit about it, more than I feel like I should before I play the game. But yeah, like everyone I know who's played Near Automata is like, this is the one. Like it's um it's like not the most popular game, but definitely one that I think has left an impression on pretty much everyone who's ever played it, like in their life. And you're like, I'm somebody who enjoys a good action RPG, but that was never my main. There was never a period of time where that was like my main form of game I wanted to play. Like I would like pop in and like, like I'm a big Marvel person, so like I'm like I love me some X-Men Legends and Marvel Ultimate Alliance and like stuff like that. But to me, the stuff that like the games that always left a super huge impression on me, I think like I think my favorite game of all time is probably Jet Set Radio Future. If
Hell
I
yeah.
had to pick one, it's like that. Like that game really was a head bust because it redefined what a game could be for me. Because it's like not quite an action adventure game, not quite a sports game. Like it was kind of like this combination of all these different types of games that I loved coming up.
Yeah.
Like like I was big into Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I was really big into like Psychonauts, which is another one of my favorite games ever. Is like
Amazing. Yeah, amazing game.
which is which like once again, like that's a game that also kind of like expanded my understanding of what you could do with not just like game mechanics but like storytelling in games. Like
Absolutely.
those two games really expanded my brain in that way. And also like Jet Set Radio Future, like one of my favorite soundtracks ever. Like that
Yeah.
soundtrack's phenomenal. Like it was to the point where when I got to high school, I like like my homie Spencer, he found the soundtrack and like sent it to me. Like he like downloaded it off somewhere, and like I would just, there was a period of time where I would listen to nothing but the Jet Set Radio Future soundtrack. And like like those two games and stuff like Def Jam Fight for New York and like Kingdom Hearts, and I'm trying to think of other shit like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, the Tony Hawk Underground 2 World Destruction Tour, like stuff
Oh
like
yeah.
that. Just like these, I don't know, like those were, like those were the games that really left a huge impact on me. Like not even from just like a like an artful sense, but just like these games are fun to play. They have really cool sounds, and
Yeah.
they're kind of like, like when like whenever I think about playing games these days, like whether I'm playing like God of War, like right now I'm running through Bomb Rush Cyberpunk because of course I am. Like
Yeah.
that game has me written all over it. But
Yeah.
like, it's like those tend to be my touchstones. Like
Hmm.
whenever I'm thinking about, like I tend to not think about art in that way, but like when it comes to games in particular, I'm just like, does this give me the same feeling that these 4 or 5 games gave me growing up? Like does this make me feel as good as SSX Tricky does? Does this make me feel
Yeah.
as good as the Sly Cooper games do? Or like I'm trying to think of what else. Like there's so many examples. Games are
Yeah.
also yeah, but like
Yeah.
games are cool that way. Like it's like there's
Absolutely.
just like anything else. There's so many different kinds,
Yeah. I've
and
always I've always been into very like narrative games. Like I was a huge, and I think it is divisive for a lot of people, but I love Jack 2. I love
Jack 2's great. What the fuck?
Jack 2. Jack 2 is great, but it was a direct response to the success of GTA. Like
Right.
they took a game that really had no
Right.
business being an open world sort of like city sim type game and just made it that for really no other reason but money. But I think it works. I think it is really well made, and
Right.
it has so much early Naughty Dog DNA. If you go back and play
Yeah.
it, you're like, that's like literally what they do in fucking Uncharted 3. Like there's so much of that DNA in there. And I love Naughty Dog as a studio. I
Yeah.
love I love all the games they make. Uncharted, such a marvel of like, technological advancements, but also like storytelling and like proof that like games can be a movie. I mean, look at The Last of Us too. Like, that's a TV show now. There's people
Yeah.
that live in the world that don't know it as a game anymore.
Which is crazy to think about because I remember
Yeah.
because I remember when The Last of Us came out and like they practically give that shit away with PlayStations at this point, like
Yeah, they
every time
do.
there's a sale, that's just basically free. It's like play The Last of Us, and it's funny because I've still never played The Last of Us, but I know enough about it that like it's just like
Yeah.
I don't need to play it at this point. Like I know the game, it's it's
Yeah.
it's just it's just one of those like like
Yeah,
it's like one of those like standards, you know.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'd say if you love a zombie narrative, play it, but um in terms of like the greater like canon of best video games ever, like I don't know if it really meets that. I love the first one. The second one, I don't know. Maybe I just got older and didn't like. I think as I've gotten older, I stopped. Like, I think my anxiety has made it to where I don't like seeing bad things happen to people anymore. Like I don't like it anymore. Like in any context, even if I know it's fake, even if it's a cartoon, I'm like, really would much rather just not see a bad thing happen to anybody ever
I
again.
get you.
You know,
I
I'm like
it's
full up on bad stuff. So I like when I was playing The Last of Us 2, I'm just like, oh, this is just so exhausting. Like I really can't do this anymore.
Man, I'm
But
I'm I'm almost the exact opposite when it comes to that at this point. Like I'm still the person who goes and watches like all the goes and watches like fatality compilations from Mortal Kombat. Like I'm yeah.
but don't you
But
ever think about, you know, do you think Scorpion is like in pain? Do you think about
yeah,
that? Just
I
playing
think
and
about it.
stuff.
I think about it often and it does make me sad. But
It's like,
like
oh,
it's so weird because it's like it's obviously not real and it's like very cartoonish. Like I was
yeah.
like like there's one in the new one where like Shao Kahn like beats you into the air with a hammer and he grabs you and he starts swirling your body around so fast that like your skin melts off your body.
No.
And it's like and like they like and of course like the whole goal of stuff like this now is to make it look as realistic as possible, and like I'll be watching it and just be like, we're constant. It's just like a being in the Mortal Kombat writers room has to be really fun. B, it's also just like we're just like constantly trying to one up this, and it's both fun and kind of depressing to just think like this is what
Yeah.
people want. Like it's like great because I love it, but at the same time, like I do think about that a lot. Like yeah, like when when Baraka is putting his fucking like talons through someone's eye sockets, I'm like, yeah, that person's in pain. Like that means like yeah, like that's like
Like that
that's like
definitely hurts.
that's a son or daughter who isn't going home to their people today, and that kind of
Yeah.
sucks. But at the same time, it's just like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like like I have like I have similar feelings playing a game like God of War Ragnarok and just like watching Kratos get thrown around in ways that are different than when he got thrown around in the original God of War games.
Right.
Like every punch and every blade hits different now. Like you
Right.
can tell that he's like weathered and tired, and it's like I'm too old. It's like it's basically just like I'm too old for this shit. The game, and I
Right.
think
And
yeah,
especially when you see him get like totally like ripped apart, and then in the next scene his kid is like, Dad, let's hang out. You know, and you're like, damn, you should just make a game where he kicks it with his son for an
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah,
You
nah,
know?
like my son needs some Neosporin or something. But yeah,
Right.
it's like yeah, it's like
Yeah.
yeah, you know, like I'm you know, like my yeah, like my threshold. I don't want to say my threshold for violence in general is higher because that's not entirely true because like I don't watch footage of people being killed, especially black people being killed. Like that's I draw the line there.
Hmm.
Like when you know yeah, like when the footage goes around, I don't watch any of the videos. I try not to look at the photos. But like I guess it just kind of comes down to like the divorcing of like you know, like I guess that's where the divorcing between reality and unreality kind of comes in for me. It's just like I have an easier time looking at like reptile disemboweling somebody
Right.
versus you know like you
Yeah.
think
No, obviously there's like, you know, a
right
separation from like the real and the fake.
but
I
I
think
get it,
that
you know.
yeah, I think I just totally um I think I just totally I don't know. Sometimes I find myself sort of escaping, if you will, into the more fanciful and like positive sort of like stuff.
Totally.
Um,
Yeah, nah, like I'm a big Kirby dude. So I get it.
mm,
You know, like I you know, like every once in a while I just want to go play like I want to go play like Kirby 64 or like Yoshi's Woolly World or like or you know, like even just Mario Kart, you know, like just like you
yeah,
know, like that's you know, like I'm not the gore 24/7 person, but like you know, like
absolutely.
it's just always about finding balance between
Yeah, that's true. That's
yeah,
true.
but you know, like everyone's thresholds are different, and you know, like obviously no judgment or anything. It's like,
Oh my
but
god,
you know,
of
like
course.
but you know, like you bringing that up just had me thinking about like my own relationship with that stuff, and you know, like how every once in a while we you know we just need to go like you ever so I mean I assume you've played Kirby 64 before.
Yes.
So the mini games in Kirby 64 were always my favorite part of the
Oh hell yeah.
I mean, like the game itself is great,
The
but
mini
like I
games
would,
are great too.
but yeah, like I would always play those mini games with my cousins and friends. Like it would just be four of us, and it would just be like it would be like my favorite one was always the one where you're like, it's like the four of y'all in a square, and you would like destroy the blocks and have to like knock people off. Like that was
Yeah.
always my favorite one of those because you know I don't know why it's just so much fun and so scary, especially
Yeah.
as the layers start to go down and it's like two of y'all operating within like a 4x4 space and you're just trying to
Uh-huh.
yeah it's just I don't know like stuff like that and stuff like Mario Party like that's just like you know like when when I'm not when I'm not in the mood to like go play Overwatch or Call of Duty, I'm in the mood to do stuff like that,
Hell yeah,
you know?
absolutely. That's what's
And
up.
like yeah, that's like the you know like yeah, there's like I feel like I'm forgetting the initial point I wanted to make with that, but I think I just think that's
Yeah.
important
Well,
to
hey, you know, we went down a nice little road of more video game, you know, analysis, and that's kind of what this is all about. So it's good.
already, you know, and you know, like for you, you know, so like, and now we get to music. So like when did music become capital M music for you? Like something that you know, like when did it go from being like a passive thing in the background to something that was like that really grabbed you as like this is music, you know?
It was always very prevalent in my life. I think I was someone who was very late to finding my own sort of path in music, and finding what I liked, sort of independent of people's influence. Um, my sister was always really into pop music and pop rock and boy bands.
Mm-hmm.
And admittedly, I think, you know, it's difficult being like the younger sibling. You feel this like almost like subconscious desire to like oppose that. But I always really loved it, you know, like I love the Jonas Brothers so much. They make to me, that's amazing music. I fuck with that shit. Um, and I spent so much time pretending like I didn't think it was cool, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then, you know, when I was 12, when I was 12, I was really into Scrubs, the TV show.
Uh-huh.
And there's a musical episode of Scrubs. And when I found out that there was a musical episode, I like bought the soundtrack of it on iTunes. And I would just run that like it was like that was my shit. Like I would bump that. Like and I think I was always like finding what I loved in like weird places like that. Like I remember the first time, this is like I'm really divulging a lot for your podcast, but the first time I cried to a song was that song by Jason Mraz, I'm Yours.
I'm
Like,
yours.
I was literally 12 years old and I just like cried to that song for no reason. I had a very normal life. Like it didn't affect it wasn't like stringing any chords in me in any way. I just like felt the emotion of the song and I was like, wow, like this is such beautiful music. Yeah, it made me cry. That was pretty cool. I don't know. And then I was a very early adopter of the internet, so I'd find these just like very random videos of people playing music or covering songs, or it took me a long time to figure out that you could like do further research. So like I found a YouTube video of Iron and Wine playing that song. Damn, what is that song called? I've been thinking it's a sign that the freckles in our eyes are mirror image. Well, Iron and Wine has a cover. Yeah, they have a cover of that song. And I just found that and thought it was amazing. And it's this like indie folk slow song. And I remember being a kid and being like, well, I love that song. And that's it. And there's no way for me to find out more about it or hear more songs like it. Like that's where that ends. And I would do that a lot, or I'd find one thing that I loved and did not delve deeper until a much later date. But then when I got my own computer, that was kind of when it sort of ramped up, and I was finding things and like learning things and filling in these gaps in my own music appreciation. And again, it kind of all goes back to my dad too. My dad was a musician. He played the drums, and he would always instill in me an appreciation for music, but he was also a very opinionated man. So like he liked what he liked, and that's what he would share with me. He loved classic rock and prog rock. Like he honestly had a really fascinating, I wish he was still around, I could ask him about it. He had a really like strong like aversion to rap music. Like he really did not fuck with rap music. I mean, maybe now as an adult, if I could be like, come on, like you fuck with this shit, right? Maybe he would like, agree. But when I was a kid, he was like, I like Rush and Yes and fucking Leonard Skinner, and that's it. Like that's the music I like. And I was like, damn, but like, I don't know, like when I was a kid, I liked everything. So I was like, this is all good music.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, but so it was always around, and I play drums too, and that's sort of like my grandfather played drums, he played drums, I played drums, and so it was always a thing that we would like talk about, and he would make me listen to songs and try to pick out one instrument, and like I would have to tell him what the instrument sounded like, sort of like isolated, and like we would do these exercises like that just for fun. Yeah, I don't know. And then then I got my own computer, and I'm learning about underground rap music. I was 15 and I heard that song by Jedi Mind Trick, or no, by Immortal Technique, that like famous song that everyone listens to.
Oh, the Dance of the Devil song.
Yeah. Then I discover all that. Then I go down that path and fucking, I'm finding out about rappers that you have to Google to figure out who they are, and I'm doing my research into Doom and his whole canon and Dilla and Madlib, and then and this is where I think it really begins. I discover Knock Steady live.
Oh man.
And that was like that was when I found found the highway.
Oh,
You know,
man. Yeah.
that was when I found the road, because that's where it all begins for me, knowing all these different musicians and seeing them do their sessions and like listening to their interviews and feeling like I was seeing something that was just beginning to be born. And I mean, I was, obviously this all stemmed from like low end theory culture, but for it to then get shot out across the country for the first time, that was
Yeah,
huge.
nah. Yeah, big time. Like that was like that whole like early 2010s California hip hop shit, like like between like the beat scene and the Project Blow dudes and like low end theory, like you said, like that was like that's like like Knowledge got big off of stuff like that, like Mind Design, and like Blue kind of found a second life through all of that stuff. And of course, like like Open Mike Eagle and all of them kind of came up in that, and
Absolutely.
Can Do and Bus Driver and Milo, Rory, Rap Ferreira, whatever you want to call him, like and like since you were so willing to divulge, I figured I'd also let you know that I think some of the first two times I ever cried to music were Stay the Night by Mariah Carey, because that's one of the most beautiful fucking beats I've ever heard in my life. I think it's a Just Blaze song, if I remember correctly. And like Emancipation of Mimi is an album that means a lot to me. That was an album that me, my dad, and my sister bonded over a lot. We would play it in the car. And then I don't remember what song it is, but like there was a trailer for the As Told by Ginger Christmas special.
Oh,
where
shit.
She
I knew you were fucking dope. Okay.
Where she and Bro were like they were finally about to confess their love for each other. I forget the name of I can hear the song in my head, but I can't remember what it's called. Like I watched that trailer, and like at that moment and the song was playing, I started bawling. I don't know why, but I was in my feelings watching that shit. I went and found my dad. I went and found my parents, my mom and my dad. And I was crying, and they were both just like, "What the fuck are you crying about?" I'm just like, "It's so beautiful." And they were just like, "What?" And I showed them, and they were just like, "Whatever, bro." Like, but I was feeling it, man. I don't know what it was, but I was feeling it in that moment. Like I caught the spirit. And like As Told by Ginger really gets me. I don't know what it is. That show is fantastic, but like
that show is fantastic. You're such a G for shouting out that show.
Yeah.
I love that fucking show. That shit is so sick. Wow,
it's so good, man. Yeah, like 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 the Macy Gray theme song and like the anime. It was just cool to me at that time to see like the Rugrats style be put towards something that was a little more mature and adult. And like have it not be all, and like All Grown Up was fine. Like I'm sure we all remember the show with the Rugrats being in high school, but like As Told by Ginger was its own thing, and it was just a cool ass show. But either way, like like I get very emotional when it comes to stuff like that to this day still. Like I be crying at movies all the time, like as just the person I am. But I get it. But that but like to get to your point about like first discovering shit when you first got your computer, like that supercharged everything. Like I was already listening to so much stuff and grabbing CDs whenever I could as a jit, but then like like the internet just made it so much easier to find music, and you would just start like like I have my dad who's 78 and was also a musician. Like he was giving me recommendations, so I would go through and be mainlining shit from it's like mainlining whole discographies, but also like discovering all my own music through movie and game soundtracks and through 106 in Park, and like like just like really I was also like a theater kid, so I was really into like musicals and Broadway, so I was just like all sorts of shit coming at me. And then like the internet just like supercharges that. And of course, like I was big into like a lot of Southern hip hop at the time. Like I was a big T.I. fan, huge into crunk, huge into like all like the ringtone rap and like and just like snap music in general. And then I found Doom.
Right.
And I became the snobbiest snob on planet snob, son. It was awful. You know, like
Oh,
I
boy.
found Doom, and then I started listening to like Nas and Tribe Called Quest and Wu Tang, and did my whole '90s due diligence. And like I
Right.
think that was around the time Nas put out Hip Hop Is Dead, so I was like the fucking backpack lifer Hip Hop Is Dead kid. It was awful, but
Dude, I mean, I totally relate to that. There is so much of that within sort of like my path. And I remember, I'm 16, I'm like 15, 16 years old in high school, bumping Milo and bumping Open Mike Eagle, being like, none of you fuckers you will never get me. I am so amazingly different. There's no
oh
way you will ever understand my swag, and
yeah, man.
um I totally like resonate with that, just feeling so like and in like retrospect, it's just so funny because these are all people that like just loved music. It's not like they're trying to do something that was
Right.
you know so
Yeah.
subversive or I don't know. But yeah, like uh yeah, finding Doom, doing that research, I felt the same way, like going back and listening to sort of like the great like records of hip hop canon, and seeing this like divide, and seeing this movement of like, oh, this stuff will never be the way that it used to be. um that always made me feel so conflicted, because I never saw it like that. I never saw it like it was a train that was moving forward, that it never got doubled back on. I saw it more as like an infinitely growing umbrella, where now we know what it sounds like when you do a record like, The Far Side,
Yeah.
and we know what that sounds like, but we don't know what it sounds like when you do a record like XOXO Tour Life, you know?
Right. Ooh, that's such a good point,
You
and
feel me? We don't know what that sounds like, but we know what this sounds like, and it informs the way that we move forward. That's how I've always seen it.
yeah.
Um, uh,
Yeah. I yeah,
yeah.
no, sorry, finish your point.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, and I think looking at it from that perspective is a way that keeps us as Black people and artists unified. You know? Um,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, like that's something, like that's the perspective that I started to gain as I got older, which is crazy because for a lot of people, I feel like it starts out, you start out young that way, and then your tastes kind of calcify and become a little more rigid and conservative as you get older. But I find myself becoming more attracted to stuff that I don't understand as I get older.
yeah,
Like I started noticing that as soon as I got to college, and like I was kind of at like the tail end of the blog era, because like you, like they like like how you were with Milo and Mike Eagle. Like that was me with like Kanye and Lupe. Like that was me bumping Food and Liquor, thinking like y'all don't get it, y'all don't
right,
understand.
right,
Like 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 I'm fucking 14, 15, 16 years old. I don't know shit at this point, but like it's
yeah,
like it's just like it's like a blessing to just kind of grow. And like like, I love every kind of rap music. I'm not that type of
same.
person who only's couched in this stuff. Like Doom's my favorite rapper of all time, but like at this point I love someone like Cash Cobain as much as I love Doom,
Hell
like for
yeah,
like different reasons. it's it's
oh
it's
yeah,
just like like there's like so many different styles and permutations of this thing we call rap music, and I'm like more excited than ever to see how they grow.
right.
And like for you, like when did music become when did you know music was going to become more than just a hobby? Like when did you start
Hmm.
making beats, and when did you start rapping, and like when was that the thing you knew you wanted to do?
There's a long road to that. Because as I had sort of alluded to, like my dad had always instilled this like musicianship in me, and at a very very early age, I was always doing doing music in some way. dancing or putting on like little whatever concerts at home. Like that was a thing I was into. And my dad played the drums, and he had a drum set in his side room, and I like listened to him play. And then when I was really young, my parents split, so I was with my mom. So every time I saw my dad, all we ever talked about was music, because now that was the only thing he could like relate to me to, because I didn't see him every day or every month or every year, you know. So it was only music that we'd speak about, or movies or video games. And so it really like concentrated this like feed of data. And I like always sort of like kept that. And then going into high school, I was really into slam poetry and writing slam poetry and like performing it in my room. There was no avenue for me to do that as a teenager, like in the city or in my town or whatever. But I was really into like button poetry on YouTube and like watching those videos and you know, just Joshua Bennett and like his whole crew and like Zora Howard and all that. But all my friends in school, I grew up in a very like predominantly white town. I think me and my sister were the two only black people in our school. And all of my friends were into pop punk. They were into emo rock, and I'm really into that stuff too. I'm a huge Midwest emo buff. I know pretty much the whole lore of Midwest emo. We haven't even gotten into that, but like, you know, from like Joan of Arc to Captain Jazz to American football to, you know, whatever, as the generations, you know, continue. But so in high school, the music we were making, I was in a band, and that was what we were doing. We were doing like pop punk, and I was like, it was, you know, sort of like La Dispute inspired, like pop punk rock with like spoken word poetry over it. And that was what we were doing, you know? And then that progressed into, finally I learned how to play the bass and the guitar, and we were in like a more traditional emo band, and it was called Handwriting. I think some of the big Pink Navel heads are also pretty into Handwriting, which is fun. But we had like 3 records. We had a vinyl, we had a 10-inch and a 7-inch vinyl. We did a tour. Like it was like we did a real run as this band, and it was all before I was even 18, and we were like really doing it. And towards the end of the band, throughout this entire time, I was really into art rap. I was really into hip hop. I was really into all of it. And I met Rory at a show in 2013. And this is like the inciting incident in it becoming something I was a fan of to becoming a practice, because Rory was so gracious and generous to sort of hold court with me and impart information that I didn't have access to otherwise. And that was so big. And I learned how to record music in my own house. I learned how to make beats on my computer. And it starts with that affirmation from someone that I look up to saying that I could do it. You know? So the band is ending, and I'm like, okay, what do I want to do now? I want to make my own music. So I start recording raps under a different name. It was all very like lore based and very inspired by Doom. It was like all like characters, and I was doing a voice, and that's kind of where it starts. And that was in 2013 or 14 where I started. I think I didn't put out Raw Navel, the first Pink Navel record, until 2017. So there was many years of like trying and experimenting and practicing with this idea of what I would sound like. But as early as 2012 or 13, I was taking it seriously. The entire time I was taking it seriously. I was never, it was never like, in the back of my mind, I knew somehow I would get here to doing it as a profession. That was always the goal.
Man. So I also had no idea that you would connect it with Rory that early, because
Yeah.
like I had assumed that y'all, or I mean, like, I had no idea when y'all linked, but when I was looking, the earliest project of yours that's on Ruby Yacht, I think, is Andre's Gift that
Yeah.
I was able to find, but y'all
Yeah.
had, but y'all had connected years before that, and he's kind of been this like presence in your career. That's crazy. I just had no idea. That's really cool.
Yeah. Okay,
You know?
cool. Yeah, I've told the story so many times, so I kind of assume people know, so apologies for assuming that you
No, no,
knew,
no.
but yeah, I met Rory he on his first tour through Boston. Um it was with him and Riley Lake, who produced Day and Night,
Yep.
and Nidar Nagram, who goes off to become this huge producer for like Lil Peep and a bunch of folks in that scene, and he's in this band now that seems to be fucking killing it. So he was there, and Rory was there, and I come to the show at the Middle East in Cambridge, and there's like 7 people there. And so I'm like one of like 7 people that have came to see the show, and I'm like spitting every single fucking word of his song the entire time. Like I am like the super fan, and so it was a very like approachable moment. Like we were all just in this space together, and we bought merch, we were kicking it, and then I just like straight up, and it's so crazy because nowadays, like I feel like we would never let this happen. I just followed them back to their car, just like kept kicking it with them when the show was over.
Oh man.
And I just was basically just like asking every single question I possibly could ask and just like gleaning as much data. And I just saw them as people who were so free. I thought it was so cool that they came from another city to here to play rap music, and that I loved it on the internet, and now they're here in real life.
Yeah.
And that was just so cool. And we just stayed in touch ever since. Like he really was so amazing in the way that he harbored my interest in indie rap and doing it, and we never lost touch. And every time they'd come to Boston or come through, I was there, and we kick it, and just the time continued, and eventually I was doing my own thing, and he clocked that and invited me to come to Maine, and I did.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
no, and then your connection with Ruby Yacht happened,
exactly.
and
I
like,
joined the crew, and oh, and I guess that's what I should say too is when I started rapping, Ruby Yacht had just started. That was like when the crew began,
right,
and
okay, yeah,
I
no, that makes sense.
and I was like, I am going to start rapping. I am going to get good, and I am going to join this crew. That was my like goal, you
Right,
know. And when I
right.
did that, it was this big thing of like, okay, what's next? Like, I did it. Do I just am I good? Like, should I? So I've always been trying to push that envelope and like continue. But I think that and if it felt so great to be like seen in this moment, but or like heard and like feel heard and seen. Rory referred to me as like the first student of Rubaiyat and the first like person born of Rubaiyat, and I really do feel that way, and I feel so honored to have like been able to accurately sort of on like respect and understand like the ethos that the crew moves with and continue the tradition that we have as being like truly free artists. Um and it's just a very special thing to me, and I love so much how the crew has grown and changed over the years, and the group we have now is just so special, and we're like a real family, and it's really really amazing to see how not only how we support each other, but how we look out for each other and how we lift each other up and how different we all are. um it's just such a special crew and a group, and I feel so you know happy that this is how it's gone, and that it's still a thing, and it's still here, and despite everything. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. it's been a whirlwind just being in the crew and just getting to know these folks in such a special way.
Yeah, I can only, or I was gonna say I can only imagine, but I mean, like, I got to see it for myself when y'all did your tour. Like it was like like I could tell not even just like the chemistry y'all had as creatives, but just like the love and passion you have for each other's work. Like seeing, like seeing you go up for Sha during her set, and then seeing y'all go up for Rory during his set.
Yeah.
And and like that night was a full circle moment for me, because the first time I'd seen Rory was when he played my college. He played at SUNY Purchase at Culture Shock. I think it might
Cool.
have been 2011 or 2012. I can't remember which year, but whatever year it was right around the time Milo Takes Baths came out, the project produced by the producer Baths, of course. And like that was my first album length experience with his music. And I think I told him this when I had him on earlier this year. And like I think, if I remember correctly, the time I saw y'all last year was like maybe the second time I'd seen him since then. Like I had never been able to catch another show for whatever reason, but I'd always kind of been admiring, like his work and everything Ruby Yacht did from afar. And like this time, and of course, like my friend and who opened the show, Sharif, like him and all his people were like, "Yo, you should come down." In his way, he was just like, "Yeah, no, you should just come down to Asbury and see us." I was like, "Fuck it, all right, let me do it." And
Yeah, that's
like
cool.
like seeing that happen in person was just like super dope to me. And
Oh,
like that's yeah, like it was, and then like we talked after, and like getting to meet you and getting to meet Sha and getting to talk to Rory and having him be like, "Oh, I know who you are." I was like, "What?" Like, it was like a weird, because
yeah.
it's always weird when people like I'm sure like it's weird when people know who you are. Like it's great and I feel grateful, but it's just like you like know who I am and what I do. That's fucking weird. Like I love y'all, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's like
It's a
it's
funny
a good it's
feeling.
yeah, like it's a good kind of weird, but it's
Yeah,
but
yeah,
but yeah, no, like either way, it's I think what makes this moment so special, like with How to Capture Playful with you and Kenny, like considering that like Kenny just produced the album for Woods, and how big Maps was and is still, and the fact that he's on the Arm and Hammer record, and like his relationship with Woods and Backwoods, and like you kind of coming into your own and kind of having this be like this is the thing I've been working toward this whole time, since
mm,
the Odyssey tape, since Epic, since like all I mean, like since Raw Naval, like you kind of like you putting in your 10,000 hours and producing and mixing and mastering and executive producing, like you said before, and like doing all this work and having this big like I would call this a coronation in a
yeah,
way. Like this is like from the outside looking in, it definitely feels like a Pink Navel has arrived type of moment, where
hell
it's like,
yeah,
who's like this is like the who's Pink Navel moment. Like like if this were happening 7 or 8 years ago, this would be the time when like Complex or Pigeons and Planes, it'd be like 10 things to know about Pink Navel. Like this is that moment. Like
oh, thank
and
you. Yeah, I
and
feel that
and
way too, and it's crazy. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see what'll happen next and like where we'll go. There's still some stuff that as has yet to be announced that is very exciting. So
hmm
just like things are on the way, and yeah, so it's just cool, and I don't know. You're right. It's been this huge culmination of everything I've been working towards and working on, and it's really awesome to see just people show love for it. And it's not lost on me how awesome it is that I get to be in this amazing echelon of artists who have done direct collaborations with Kenny and be in that group. Um, that's very special. And I think I think it rocks.
Yeah, no, it does. It's and you did it by being yourself. Like it's just like 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 you and I don't know if you're familiar with the producer, DJ, and artist who goes by the name Best Friend. at all?
Oh, I don't think I am familiar.
But my best friend's super dope. He's someone who I've just kind of met. He's the one I met and connected with through the New York indie scene. He's super dope. Shout out to Jefferson if he's listening. But you know, like you and best friend are the only two people I've ever met who work in rap and also make toys the way you do, and like that's just cool to me. Like I'm also a toy person. I don't have my collection at my partner's house. It's at my crib, but you know,
Nice.
like we're both big toy people. Like, yeah. So it's, you know, like just like you kind of existed, like I said before, like you existing at this center, I mean, like at the nexus point between, you know, just like every aspect of nerd culture with music, and like it's just really cool to see that build out in organic and interesting ways. Because like I said, you know, this project is something that really, like the reason it works as well as it does is because it gets at the human idiosyncrasies that make the things that we love interesting and why it makes them interesting.
Mm,
You know, like that's the reason this project resonates the way it does. Like,
yeah.
you know, like and then on top of that, it's just dope to listen to a project that has like fucking Sonic Adventure 2 battle music cut in at the end. Like like it does at the end of the intro.
Yeah.
That was a nice touch. And like you saying you saying that you wave dash while rapping, like that's so like they
Yeah.
don't know nothing about that, son. Like
Right.
I don't know. Like
But
that's like
I do it for us that do. I mean,
yeah.
I think that's what's crazy. I think the sample I have at the beginning of Blit Party Chat says it all, where the dude is like, well, video games actually are part of Black history if you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, that nigga really understands it. And that clip comes from the funniest thing ever. It's this person on TikTok who goes up to people in Walmart and will
Yeah.
say, like, you have to pick one of these things, this thing or Black history. And she goes up to a bunch of guys in like the video
Yeah, I
game
know exactly
section,
the
and
things.
she's like, video games are Black history. And he's like, no, both. It was so sick. He's like, video games are a part of Black history. I was
Yeah.
like, that's so sick. And I remember seeing that and being like, exactly. You know,
Mhm.
like, I don't
Yeah,
know. It's
no.
just, yeah. I mean, like, same with Gum running the LAN party. That's like some Afrofuturism shit. Like, I fuck with that, you know?
Yeah,
Uh,
man.
uh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, like that is Black history. It's and it's Black culture on top of that. You know, like it's
Yeah.
like like I feel like I have this conversation because I'm like like I was blessed and fortunate enough to grow up around a lot of like lots of different kinds of Black people, but also particularly like a lot of Black nerds. And like
Mm,
we had this conversation then, and we still have it now, and of like the whole like, oh, like this is white shit. It's stupid. We all know it's stupid. But
yeah.
like, like growing up, like most of the people I knew who, or not most, but like a good chunk of the people I knew who liked this shit, like were Black people.
Mm,
Like yeah. Like me and my niggas love to watch Dragon Ball Z and like talk about One Piece and Naruto, but also love to talk about hip hop, love to talk about sports. Like this, like like this is like this is all stuff that we do, like
right.
like it's like part of the reason why I love seeing like the whole RDC world and Mark Phillips and his crew kind of going up, because like
Absolutely.
like they exemplify, like this shit, like whether you're in the hood or not, like whether like no matter what type, quote unquote, a Black person you are, like this stuff's always been here, and like Black people like this stuff, and
Yeah.
we not only do we like it, but we consume it, we talk about it, we put our own spins on it. Like if you like look at stuff like Afro Samurai or Cannon Busters or Yasuke that just came out, and
Right.
like everything that Gum and Dirty Bird does, and everything that, of course, like Rory and Mike Eagle and you, and like I always think about it in the sense that like rap is the nerdiest shit ever. Like even
Mm,
like even like the most even the most like thugged out gangster of gangster dudes who are in this, they're all nerds. They're all
yeah.
nerds, all of them. Like
Yeah.
even if it's not about like quote unquote nerdy stuff, like 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 memorizing bars and stanza and music. Like there's few things nerdier than that. Like
Oh, that's so true.
that's just what it is. Like
Yeah.
like it's that's just what
It's intelligence,
you know. Yeah.
yeah, it's a creative use of intelligence, which I think is the crux of it.
Right. And you're like that, like that connects us all, like
Yeah.
yeah, like I can like I feel like I'm the type of person who could talk to anybody about anything, but more often than not, like like that's like not to big myself up too much, but like that's part of the reason why a thing like Real Notes exists.
Mm,
Because, like rappers, like we all love to talk about music, obviously, but like people love like music is a universal thing, but so is film, so are video games, like even if you're not like a diehard fan, like everyone has an experience with movies. Most people have experiences with games, and like black people in
yeah.
particular. So like that's always something that I'm always interested in, like making those connections and just showing how much we all have in common. And I
Yeah.
think that's what makes stuff like How to Capture Playful really special, because I know there's people like you and me out there who get this. And like
Absolutely.
I mean, like people of all persuasions, but like particularly like black people, like who get this, who lived this, who live this,
Yeah.
like that's what makes this important. And that's what makes stuff like this special. And, like just as someone who's on that wave, just, thank you for being brave enough to find yourself in all this and let us hear it. Cause that's,
Yeah.
I don't want to get too schmaltzy, but that's, that's,
Nah,
that's, that's
I
real.
appreciate it. Thank you very much. I feel very seen in that moment where it is something I'm doing consciously, this like representation and this celebration of the things that we, feel so passionately about. I think it's so easy for popular media to bastardize or flanderize this image of the black nerd, you
Yeah.
know?
Oof. Come on.
Um, I know. And it loses dimension. And it's not wrong for us to fuck with this shit. Um,
Yeah.
but it doesn't make us, I think, in the past I've referred to myself as Cookie the Bookkeep, Cookie, like from Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide.
Uh-huh.
And I found so much I found so much love in that character, and I found so much of myself in that character. But I also see a lot of, you know, you're either B Cookie or you're Cookie. It does is that, when he becomes a rapper and
Yeah.
he's dressed like, you know, he's dressed like Currency for like
Yeah, yeah,
the whole episode.
yeah,
And so it's like you're either that or you're that. You're either this or that.
yeah,
There's a lot of that in that character where he's so, all the other characters dress pretty normally and they're into whatever they're into, but Cookie looks like a fucking like fake cartoon nerd. Like he has the crazy glasses, he's got the
yeah,
crazy high pants, like
yeah,
even like Urkel is mega, like it's almost, you know like it's like heightening the characteristics of a nerd, a geek, in the same way that they heighten the characteristics of a black person in minstrel shows.
right. Oh, totally.
You
Yeah,
know, you know.
definitely. Yeah,
So I think there's this need for uh um I think there's this need for someone to say, like, we can look however we want to look, we can dress however we want to dress, and we can still know about and like this shit and be smart about it, and those things can coexist in a way that's just more, real and normal, you
right.
know
Oh,
and that's a big thing with How to Capture Playful, where it is a love letter to games. It's also a love letter to rap music. And
yeah,
um you know uh there's so much of that record that is historical to me. The song that me and Rory do,
yep.
Solving Combat, that's a beat that Kenny made for Flies.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's nuts. Wow.
Um,
So the flies
and
don't come, for anybody who doesn't know what he's talking about, or basically
yeah,
what they're talking about. Yeah.
yeah. It was for flies, and we freaked it on some new shit, and that was so crazy because that's like a record that was so important to me, and now we're using. I don't know. It was cool.
Yeah, that's so ill. Like on it, and yeah, like that's like you know, like to your point of like, you know, you can look however you want and just yeah, you know, like I'm a you know, like I'm gonna show up to the D&D campaign in a Stussy sweatshirt with saggy
Let's
pants.
go.
You
That's what
know,
I'm
like
talking about.
I'm a yeah, you know, like I'm gonna show up to the fucking Shawnee Bin Laden New York drill show in a Jet Set Radio Future t-shirt. You know, like
And
that's
niggas are
like
gonna be like, "That's lit. You're killing
exactly.
it." Yeah, no,
Exactly.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
nah, you see me, bro. You see me.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Like that, yeah,
Uh,
no, like this could go on for another 2 hours. Like I'm almost positive at this
it
point.
could, it
Like,
could, it could, it could.
yo, but
Huh.
to bring this all full circle, Dev, if your life was a movie, what would it be about?
If my life was a movie, it would be about me getting the MacArthur grant, and then I choose to make a play about my life. And the play expands and expands until it's a one-to-one recreation of my life. And then
So, no. Sorry. Finish.
and then it's so daunting that I have to hire somebody else to play me while I direct the show. And then I start cleaning this house, and it's very bizarre. And I have to fly to Germany to see my daughter,
You're
and she has
an
these
asshole.
tattoos.
Shit. I see. See. I know exactly what you're talking about. You're. This is the plot for Schenectady, New York.
Yeah, that's like my favorite movie. I love that movie.
Oh, that's so
And then
funny.
and then I lose the ability to cry. So when I feel sad, I have to put eye drops in my eyes and pretend to cry. Do you
That's
remember that part?
I no, I actually didn't until you brought it up. I tried to put that movie out of my brain, man. Like I love it. It's so sad. It's so depressing. It's like it's like so. I don't want to call it defeatist, but it's just like I watched that shit. And it devastated me. I was like, I don't want to make anything anymore, you know.
Yeah, that movie is really fucking sad. But also,
But it's
if
great.
you
It's super
it's
fire.
so great. But if you watch it like it's a comedy, it's really funny.
Hmm.
If you just decide to like laugh at this man and his crazy life, it is very funny.
Yeah.
Um that can be tough to do. I know. It's like a movie where a bad thing happens to the same guy for 3 hours, but
Yeah, but I'm yeah, you know, like I love Charlie Kaufman. I love everything he does. So yeah, like yeah, yeah. I think my favorite scene in the movie is when he's talking to I forget who the woman is, but they got the translators on and they're speaking to each other in their native languages and it's translating back and forth and you know like she's just and you know like she's just like insisting that he's gay because he doesn't want to have sex with somebody and
yeah, no, that's his daughter. That's when he goes
right,
to see his daughter pass away.
right.
And she's like, "You have to admit to me that you're gay so I can die in peace." And he's like, "What are you talking about?"
Son just said, "I'm not a homosexual." And she's just like, "Oh yeah, she said you would say that." I was just like,
Yeah.
"Yo, this
Yeah.
is just like,
That scene is so crazy. I gotta watch that movie again. It's been a while. But that's like
yeah,
my favorite movie of all time.
wow." Okay, I mean, yeah, like it's a whew, yeah, that's a movie right there. That's like that's like a capital. That's a movie, all caps, MOVIES, all caps movie. You
Yeah,
know, like
that's a film. That's a film.
that's a rough one. It's so good, and it's definitely an acquired taste and one that like if you got the patience for it, and if you're like if your mind is tuned to that frequency, it's
Yeah.
so and yeah, like one of Philip Seymour Hoffman's best performances ever, and that's saying a lot because he's great
Done
in
so
everything.
much. Yeah, yeah, done so much great work. But yeah, I agree.
Son. Yeah, but I love to hear that your movie. I love to hear that the movie of your life would just be skin. Is it Schenectady or Cynic Dosh? Because I know they like play with the name sometimes,
Well,
but like
you're like you're doing it halfway on both those. It's synecdoche.
Right. See.
Synecdoche.
Okay. And you know what's funny? Because I pronounced it Schenectady because there's a Will Smith song from his Millennium album that I loved when I was a kid called Afro Angel. And at the end of that song, the scene that he raps about takes place he calls it Schenectady. So
Well,
it's always going to be that in my head forever.
that's the play on words. So
Right.
Schenectady is a city in New York, in the state of New York, and that's where the movie is set. And then synecdoche is a word that means the part of a whole. So
There it is.
it's like a play on words. And the movie has a lot of plays on words in this way, where like he goes to one doctor about something, and they're like, you have to go see an optometrist, and he's like, an optometrist, and then he goes and sees like it's like a different doctor, and then the doctor's like, you're supposed to see an oncologist, and they're like, an oncologist, like what, like, and it like plays with misunderstanding and like wordplay in a really crazy way.
Yeah, it's textbook Charlie Kaufman shit, you know,
Yep.
like that's his whole thing, you know, like from like being John Malkovich in Eternal Sunshine, like it's if y'all are into that type of shit, like it's from like the advanced Charlie Kaufman playbook in a lot of ways. It's like I almost want to call that New York, like I want to call that like Charlie Kaufman's like Balloon Mind State compared to like the 3 Feet High and Rising and the De La Soul is Dead of being John Malkovich in Eternal Sunshine, you know, like that's that's definitely like the Balloon Mind State movie, you know.
That's so real. That's so real.
Like, but Dev, yo, like, thank you so much for this. This was amazing.
What a fun conversation. Thank you so much for just showing all the love. And I mean, I can tell that you really sunk into the work, and I really appreciate that. And thank you for listening, and thank you for what you do for our community. And yeah, just keep it up.
Nah, yeah, it's my pleasure and my honor to be here. And you know, like I just, you know, like I'm just a vessel for all this shit, bro. Like that's my whole thing. I'm just like,
that's what's up.
This shit saved my life, and I'm here to just I'm you know, like I'm just here to put on. You know, I'm just happy to be trusted, and you know, like and that people fuck with me, you know, because like people don't have to. I don't take that for granted. I try not to take that for granted. So yeah, it's you know, like I'm just happy to have a space for us to just like talk and get honest and have fun about all the shit that we love, and you know, for me to mispronounce names and shit.
That's what's up. We're killing it.
Thanks for listening. Shout out to y'all for making it this far. And shout out to all the black people listening too, because y'all really impeccable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell a friend to come through next time. 1.